I mean, this really came at the time of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. As you said, the media was all over this story. The Son of
Oh,
Sam was sending letters to the police, to the media. They were being published. Do you think true crime would be the way it is today without the Son of Sam case?
I think that's such an important and prescient point that you just made. It wouldn't be, because Son of Sam allowed Rupert Murdoch, who owned the Post at the time, to realize that fear sells better than sex.
That was something as a journalist when I was watching this and hearing the way the reporters were reporting on this case and the phrases they would use. I mean, almost 50 years later, I'm sitting there and I thought I could never talk this way. I don't hear my peers talking this way. No one would talk in this sensationalist language. I mean, that was one of my biggest takeaways as a journalist, but keep going.
Well, no, I mean, it's an important point. Like, I wasn't just looking, by the way, at Mory Terry. I was looking at journalism and true crime as a whole, and this moment that kind of kickstarted it off. By the way, Son of Sam not only solidified careers, launched careers, launched even a style of journalism. First of all, who was there making their bones in the Son of Sam case? Geraldo Rivera, number one for sure. You had him sending letters to Jimmy Breslin. That was huge, solidifying this giant. You had the Post and the Daily News in a huge battle, and basically Rupert Murdoch realizes the Son of Sam is his golden ticket to making the New York Post what it is. And he goes in 100%, and he sends in these tabloid journalists, these Aussies who come over, no holds barred journalists, all right, man, tell me what is luck with the Son of Sam. It was great. And that really made Rupert Murdoch. But it also did something else. Just 2 or 3 years later, Current Affairs is launched. It started tabloid TV. So that was the other, that you had Geraldo, Now It Could Be Told. You had Current Affairs starting. So it wasn't just selling newspapers. It was, as you said, a new type of sensationalistic journalism that then carried over to where we are today. Now, you can even, and a number of people have done this, they have basically drawn a straight line from Berkowitz to Trump presidency, saying that this type of sensationalistic journalism has now it's the same type of journalism now we're seeing seeping into American politics. It's no longer Tom Brokaw and Peter Jennings and that style of stodgy journalism. Now it's more of the Fox style journalism that we're seeing in American politics. That started all the way back in Berkowitz.
I mean, that's great. That's a crazy through line to even think. Do you think that without Berkowitz, there'd be a Trump presidency? I mean, it's almost like the butterfly effect here.
It could be, I think the bigger question is, could there be a Trump presidency without New York City true crime? Without New York City crime in the Post? Because remember, it's not just Berkowitz, it's Bernie Getz, it's Central Park 5. I think Trump was always smart enough to be commentary on the big true crime case at the time. So, but yeah, you can draw that direct line, at least to the sensationalism of journalism that would happen. And Mory Terry even has a role in that. I like to say that Mory Terry made a deal with the devil. The problem, and I think Mory Terry was, it's hard to say percentage wise, but like 65% right, or even 70% right. Like, I believe there were other people involved, and to me, that's the biggest thing. For many other people, they're like, no, it was a devil worshiping cult, and I don't get into that stuff. But I think for the most part, Mory Terry was right. But I think Mory went off the rails a little bit. And what I mean by that is he knew he had some nuggets of truth that Berkowitz didn't act alone. And the NYPD called him crazy. And you see this happening in media today. When people have a theory, whether a conspiracy theory or not, and somebody else calls them crazy, they double down. And then they start to get more angry about their case, more fervent about their case, and then they start to break a little bit of rules of proper journalism and etiquette. So I think Mory kind of doubled down. When he would have just kind of stuck to his guns and been the better person, he could have He could have been, some of his information would have been better received in the long run.
And you said that on your podcast that you thought Mory Terry made a deal with the devil, but the devil always wins. And I cover a lot of breaking news. I cover a lot of developing stories. And something I always say at the my last question to my guests is, what do you think's next? And I can't believe I'm asking you about a case that has been closed, that it's been almost over 50 years or close to 50 years since the last shooting. I mean, what do you think is next for the Son of Sam case in American culture, I guess, would be my question.
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know, because at this point, there is no baseline truth. I don't know. There was always, this is one of the things that we tried to look at in our documentary, right? There was always the narrative of the talking dog. But I don't know if we've gotten over that baseline to believe that there's other people or not. Tragically, I think, unfortunately, David Berkowitz is probably going to pass away, and we'll never know the absolute truth.
Well, Josh, I appreciate our conversation. I hope that everyone watches your documentary series, The Sons of Sam. It's been on Netflix now since 2021, and also your companion podcast as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope we can have more conversations.